air. Make yourself at home.
Make myself at home. Okay. So this is even though we started the class and called it Inner Space 2 for Elul, but in Elul it's impossible not to talk about the holidays, and therefore that's what we did. We talked about the holidays, and we referred indirectly to inner space, but now it's really a class that's going to be a course in opening up this book. This book I was privileged to be given the transcripts of the classes that Rabbi Kaplan gave in his home. As it explains in the introduction, there was 2 sets of classes, and he always had them typed up, recorded, and then typed. And he was planning to make a book, and the book was going to be called Inner Space. He himself entitled the notes Inner Space. And in the introduction to Jewish meditation, he says we explored, myself and a group of psychologists explored the inner space of the spiritual experience. So that's where that came from. The title, everything was, in other words, from him, but it came through me because the way the book came about was to make a book out of classes is pretty almost impossible. But with Rabbi Kaplan, it was possible because I had every book that he had ever written, as well as manuscripts, things that had not been published yet, and things that still haven't been published. So I had all that, and I had this wealth of stuff, and that I saw that when he spoke about things in class, he had already written about them in one place or another, and sometimes in 2 or 3 or 4 places, he'd write the same idea in different ways. So he was a very rich thinker. So that became the secret of how to put the book together, which was to keep the order of the classes and to add in what he had written about what he was saying in class, right? And that's how this book came to be. And I finished it in 1990, I think. 1990. And today is more like an overview, and we'll start with the table of contents. Because what's really nice about Rabbi Kaplan is his sense of order of how to present things. If any of you ever read his translation of the Derech Hashem by Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. So there, he talks about Rabbi Luzzatto, or the Ramchal, and how he was able to order all of the incredible ideas of Judaism in a methodical way. And basically, in saying that about the Ramchal, Rabbi Kaplan was saying it about himself. Very often he would say something about somebody else, and in a purely tamimut way, in other words, just completely without thinking about himself, he was basically saying what he does. And he really went in the footsteps of these, especially of certain teachers. He translated their works, like the Ramchal. He translated Rabbi Nachman's works. He translated a lot of stuff from the Ari that he put in the meditation, the Kabbalah. A lot of the first chapter that we're going to learn now is really a condensation of things that he talked about in class, but that he had written about in meditation, the Kabbalah. So in order to really appreciate inner space, so what I'm going to try and do is ask everybody to read chapter by chapter, a chapter before every class. or maybe a chapter before every 2 classes. We'll see how we need to do it. But we don't want to get stuck on any one chapter, but definitely we want to move, but we also want to be able to go and understand what he was doing and understand some of the sources that he was drawing from, right? And just to open it up, right? He was a very loving and caring person, not just a head. He was brilliant. My wife said that when she used to go to his house and visit him in Borough Park, and he would just start a conversation off the cuff, she had to strain every cell in her brain. That's what she said. She said it many times. Every cell in my brain to understand and to follow him. And so that shows a little bit who he is on the left, and that little bit as he just was so caring and very easy to get along with. So we have in his writings, we have a nice combination of somebody who's very brilliant, but of somebody who really cares about delivering this stuff in a way that you and I can get it. You're invited to come closer or to sit there, and I'm passing to you one way or the other. I'm passing to you some of these. Please remember that even though we're talking, but just take a few seconds, each one of you, to write your name. If you haven't been here before, to add your name. If you have been here before, to add a check by your name with your email. And there's a 30 shekel thing. And also, what about if it's like somebody wants to come? Okay, just 30 shekels. This is one set. This is another set. It may be that if more people come, then you're going to be asked to share. In the meantime, as long as we have. Basically, I got down to the last one, but I do have a book also. So where was I? Do you know what this class is about?
Meditation.
Yeah, well, the meditation is not up front like it was last year, which was, this is more like, what's the system, the meditative system that has been given to us, that has been passed down and transmitted, or the entire system, the entire Kabbalah system, and that it contained the meditative aspect. And as we say here in the introduction, in the foreword, which you don't have, so the first part of the book is a really beautiful, methodical presentation of the Kabbalistic system. The second part of the book, I write here, the second part of this book is an independent series of lectures on the first chapter of the book of Ezekiel that were given from January 18th to March 15th, 1982. The first part was from August 10th to November 2nd, 1981. So just a few months later, into 1982, and he passed away in January 1983, right? So we're getting close to the end of his life. So he gives this second set, which is from January 18th to March 5th, it's 2 months. In these lectures, Rabbi Kaplan developed the theme of meditation as it manifests itself in prophecy. In other words, how behind the prophetic experiences of the prophets was a meditative system, how to get inside, how to get connected, and how to prepare yourself and open yourself up to higher levels. In this sense, it's a sequel to his posthumous Jewish meditation. It seemed logical to join this section to the first part of the book rather than publish it as a separate volume, because it would be useless to a beginner without the knowledge of the basic principles of Kabbalah expounded in the first part. So that's why the first part is the principles, and the second part is the meditation, but of course, the two will mix. That's the main thing I wanted to bring from there. Now let's look at the what you get when you get the old copies that I have here. You get the inner flap. So that's what you have here on the left side. And the private classes that were taped and transcribed during the last year of his life and posthumously edited into the present volume, Rabbi Kaplan began piecing together systematically a comprehensive picture of the Kabbalah system. So, and we're going to like define what Kabbalah is and really get into the kishkas of what that means for us, what our connection is to it, what learning Torah is about today mostly, and what it can be, what it was meant to be, how to kind of realign with what Torah learning was always meant to be, get it out of the head into the heart and into the body, and make it a holistic system that includes the entire human being, including the highest states and also the worst parts of us. In other words, we were given kind of a raw material to work with as human beings. As souls, we come into this world. We're giving this raw material to work with. And like some of us have anger issues, and some of us have fear issues, and some of us has lust issues. Those are kind of the issues that we have. Like, what's this have to do with Torah? And does the Torah just tell me to kind of just, repress everything and be a good little boy, a good little girl? No, the Torah has a holistic system of how to come and refine what we've been given, the raw materials that we've been given to create a human being with the help of Hashem, who can be the greatest human being that we can be. And so then Moshe Rabbeinu and Sarah Imenu and Avraham Avinu and all of them become signposts to us, and they become our coaches, and they become our fans, and say, you can do it. If we did it, then for sure you could do it. They don't stand there and say, we did it and you can never come anywhere near us, right? That's maybe what some people are almost subliminally taught. These are the avot, and you can never get near them. Okay, perhaps maybe I can't get near them as they were, but I can get near them in the potential that was given to me. So the Torah system has to deal with the worst of me and the best of me, and to put it together into a package that I can walk on this planet in the most incredible way, with an awakened consciousness, with an open heart, with a mind that's hungry and yearning for knowledge, but also is understanding that I can't understand everything. Whatever, it's like I'm just trying to present that it's like much, much more out of the box than we see it being practiced. And nothing to say against anybody. In other words, we're all in this together. We're all in a sense at the lowest ebb of the Jewish people before Mashiach comes, like the worst and the lowest and the least conscious. And is this what it's about? And yet the potential for us to come to be a messianic generation, a generation who comes to the greatest potential that each one of us has, and to form small and then larger and then more comprehensive groups and networks of consciousness and of service of Hashem and of empowering each other to do what all of us need to do and what each of us needs to do and all of us need to do together. The potential is very, very great, even though it seems on the outside that we're farther away and just almost helplessly lost in what is this stuff all about. And even the word religiosity turns so many people off. Right? So Rabbi Kaplan, like it says here now, in the second paragraph, this book is thus a testimony of Rabbi Kaplan's belief that the spiritual thrust of our generation could be satisfied only by introducing the power, the depth, and the insight of the Kabbalah into our everyday lives. And that was before the Kabbalah Center, so to speak. And independently, and it's basically a different road than the Kabbalah Center took. And so I'm not going to mention them at all, hopefully, during the entire thing, because I think it's just not where we want to go. The use of Kabbalah for personal gain and stuff like that is we'll talk about the pure stuff, I think, and stay away from my personal opinions about what other people are doing, and just stay in the positive, I think. Okay, forgive me for that. But anyway, to introduce Kabbalah into the everyday lives of the Jewish people, and then really, actually, there's so many non-Jews who want it also. So if it's done in the proper way, in a healthy way, in a balanced way, it's not as if we're giving over Kabbalistic secrets here that only the greatest masters knew. We're giving over stuff that every single human being, as a birthright, should be able to know, because it's life-changing, it's paradigm-shifting into that we are souls and that we are connected very high up, and we've come to, in this lifetime, whatever luggage we've come, but we've come to do something, to be part of something great. So there's a lot of hope, a lot of positive energy in this kind of presentation. And perhaps I myself would not overdo the word Kabbalah, because I really hold that it's Torah. It's Torah in all of its wholeness. But the name of the book, the subtitle of the book is Introduction to Kabbalah, Meditation and Prophecy. So we'll see, God willing. What we need to see here and what we need to learn. And he himself says to Rabbi Kaplan, Kabbalah is the ultimate synthesis of mysticism and logic. On the one hand, he describes what he calls the theoretical branch of Kabbalah as a completely consistent and logical system of correspondences, which provides a conceptual framework for dealing with the most profound philosophical questions about life. That's a long sentence. Okay. In other words, it's a framework of correspondences. It starts with Hashem's name, his names, and his main name. What's Hashem's main name? Shoot it out whenever you know an answer to a question. Yud Kevavke. It's a formula. And then all the other names are really offshoots of this one name. And so then there's the word Shem, name, and the word Sefer, book, are the same gematria. So your name, so to speak, is the book of your life, right? You can open up your name, you can do the gematrias and all kinds of things. This is what the Ari did, and the Baal Shem Tov did, and the Gaon of Vilna did for people. What's your name? What's your father's name? What's your mother's name? What's your grandparents' names? And all the different gematrias and different things of, here's your connection into the Torah. Here's your mission. Through your very name, this is your book. Also, with God's name, Shemot is the same gematria as the word Sfirot. Shemot is God's names. Sfirot are the divine energies that Hashem uses to interact with his world. And we'll see in a second where that chapter 4 starts with the Sfirot. But Sfirot are the modalities or the qualities that Hashem uses in interacting with his world. And so also his names. So the Torah speaks about God in using different names. And that's very interesting because we believe in one God. So we're forced to understand that these different names or different manifestations are different qualities that the one God uses, just like we have 10 fingers or we have different personality aspects, but there's one me, there's one you. Right? What is that oneness that's me, that's oneness that's you? That ineffable oneness that's behind. The same thing with God. There's a world that he created with many, many levels, and behind all that is a oneness that's ubiquitous, that's everywhere, that's unchanging. He created a world at the same time that there's change, that he's so deep that he doesn't even exist in the realm of change. So our concept of God is very advanced. And perhaps there are other systems that have advanced concept of God also, but let's find out about ours. Our concept of God and our concept of his creation of the world and of the worlds and our place in that and what our connection is to him. How we are basically almost what the Torah calls it, Tselem Elokim, we're in the image of God. Well, what does that mean? So that's what he goes into. That's the system, the theoretical system. So that for every letter of God's name, there's a spherotic correspondence. For every name of God, there's a spherotic correspondence. For every world that he made, there's a spherotic. Everything is a correspondence. And that when you learn the system, it's not a dead system. It's not a mechanical system. It's a system that opens you up to different ways of looking and experiencing the world from an inner level. And I hope that as the time goes on, you'll actually understand what I'm trying to say, or you can relate to it any way you can now. But what my intention is kind of like I have a bank account on what I'm drawing from as I speak. And my bank account is giving me ideas to give to you of how to just create an introduction, a universe of dialogue that we can begin to speak in and know that there's a lot more to learn, but we can actually start speaking in it already. That's the purpose of this first class is to create the what's called the Rishimu, the impression that now will allow the words and the concepts and the ideas and the feelings and the thoughts to be shared between us. As opposed to living in two universes where what I'm saying is like, if I ask you what I'm saying, you say, well, you just said a bunch of words. As opposed to that, you can begin to digest and interact. And Kabbalah, reception begins to happen. We're receiving from each other. So, any questions so far? Interactions.
It was interesting that you just said Kabbalah is the exception. Never thought of it that way.
Yeah, no, it's essential. It's essential that a person be a receiver. There's transmitters and receivers.
Are people translators also?
Yes, certainly.
Is it essential to be a translator?
It's essential to want to be part of the system of reception and transmission. That once you learn Aleph, you can teach Aleph, even though you don't even know Beit yet, because you've felt something about Aleph, you've understood something about Aleph, so there should be a desire in you to share that, and that's called transmitting, because you've received. And as you transmit, you receive more, because as you give, you get so much more back.
Question said that our names are
Our books.
our books, they reveal so much about us and give us direction and everything. But at the same time, you talked about Kabbalah being a system and we need to learn. So how much do we bring ourselves to Kabbalah as an individual, like our own book, and how much do we let Kabbalah be the system that we're just going to enter into?
Good question. In the old days, what my teacher told me when I was learning, when I started to learn in the yeshiva 4 blocks from here called Yeshivat Chaim Shalom. And the yeshiva was called that because yeshiva starts with a yud, and HaChaim starts with a hey, and Ve, HaShalom is V, a Vav, and the hey, it's Yud Ke Vav Ke. The yeshiva was where we learned the Kitvei Ari, the writings of the Ari. So Rav Mordechai Atiyah, may he be well, said to us when he was learning with Rav Mordechai Sharabi, who was now a block away from here, on Rehov Shiloh in Yeshivat Nahar Shalom. And Nahar Shalom is named the yeshiva after a book that was written by Rabbi Sar Shalom Sharabi 250 years ago. So Rabbi Mordechai Sharabi didn't let anybody ask any questions for the first year. Because any question anybody would ask in Kabbalah would be, they wouldn't understand the answer anyway. And he basically, what I just said before is you had to create a kli, a vessel within yourself to be able to receive this stuff. And that only happened after a while. But Rav Mordechai Atiyah, my teacher, one of my great teachers, said, that's impossible nowadays. We can't stop people from asking. So we'll use questions and do whatever, and we'll just open it up. And that's what he did. When I learned in his yeshiva, guys were coming from, Israelis were coming from South America and from Europe and from traveling all over after the army. And they had never learned Torah before. And here they were in a yeshiva that was teaching them Kabbalah in a kosher, beautiful, loving way. And a lot of them today are teachers. And whatever, we just got so much from it because it was totally lively, asking questions. So, but to answer your question more specifically, we do hold back a little bit because we want to find out, like, what's it about? But on the other hand, we have this deep need to find out what we are about, right? So that dance is very important. That dance is like everywhere in everyday life in Judaism. In our davening with a minyan, a man with a minyan has to pace himself that, like, do I go to the speed of the minyan or I go my own speed? Well, I dance. Right? I do the best I can to be with them, but if I can't, I have to be with myself, to be with Hashem. So hopefully that helped a little bit. Okay. The table of contents. He goes into the history of the Kabbalistic system, that's to say, of the system of transmission and reception. The truth is, my belief is that Kabbalah starts from Adam, and of course the knowledge of it starts with Hashem before creation. Adam is a receiver, a prophet. We were speaking before, I myself coined something, probably maybe it's not even original, but became like something that I use constantly, is that there's a horizontal transmission in Judaism and there's a vertical connection. The horizontal transmission is the Kabbalah system as it's transmitted from generation to generation, especially in the early generations where the first transmitters were prophets and had their own vertical, if you know what I mean, personal vertical connection. That became then part of the accumulating horizontal transmission that went to the next receiver. For instance, Abraham met a man named Shem, whose other name was Melchizedek, and he received something from him. He then sent Yitzhak to this yeshiva of Shem, and also his great-grandson Ever, and Shem was the son of Noah. So Yitzhak was sent to the yeshiva of Shem and Ever. Later, Yaakov went to the yeshiva of Shem and Ever. What did they learn there? Right? What was that transmission that was given from Adam to Chanoch, which is called Enoch in English, to Methuselah and to Noah, and then that finally came to Shem, right, which is pre-flood, and what they had to give to Abraham and to Yitzhak and to Yaakov, which is post-flood. Right? It's very important stuff going on there. So the concept of yeshiva, of going to a place of receiving something and then becoming part of that transmission, if a person is worthy. Not everybody who learned and received that transmission had their own vertical, or at least not everybody became a prophet. But definitely the idea is alive and well till today, is that everybody goes to some kind of class or starts to learn or starts to read, goes to a teacher, goes to a friend, they start learning together, you're starting to receive. One of the things that has to start happen is that you're pulling down a higher level or a more intense level of hashgacha pratit into your life. Meaning two things, meaning that you become now more, you become aware that your life is now being guided. But really it works retroactively. You realize that your life has always been guided, just that you weren't aware of it. So you come into Kabbalah, into a Kabbalah receiving of Torah, and that includes all aspects of Torah. You become now part of an incredible transmission system. Let's look at it inside. Let's skip the the introduction, the table of contents for a moment, I might want to go back to it, or at least certainly refer to it as we go. And the first chapter, what does the word Kabbalah mean? So what I really would like, and I will really ask you, is to read this first chapter and come back next week. And then we can have a much more coherent interaction in class. And you don't have to just listen to me. You can ask. You can think on your own and make notes to yourself. And you can look at the table of, you can look at the footnotes and say, can you help me get into what the sources in this footnote say? Like on page 185 in the second set that you have, right? The footnote number 1 on page 185, Rabbi Abram Abalafia, Sefer HaCheshek, Bezot LeYehuda, page 15. Like, who has that? Okay, so I happen to have it. I happen to bring along the text, and it's a little bit involved, but this is what Rabbi Kaplan wanted to point out to us, or this is what he had in mind when he said what he said. So that's what I can help to do, but it'll really help if you read the material. Somebody's knocking at the door. Could you do us a favor and thank you so much. What does the word Kabbalah mean? It stems from the root Kabal, meaning to receive. The term implies that it's a certain kind of wisdom that is received. Sit next to each other and share with them, okay? So now he immediately goes into the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, the first Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. The Mishnah says that Moshe kibel Torah miSinai. Interesting phrase. We translate it into English as Moshe received Torah on Sinai, and just to make it simple. And the actual text of the Pirkei Avot is not as I put it here. I wasn't careful enough. I just need a Pirkei Avot just for this. I need a sitter. Yeah, or it should be in any sitter. Might not be in one. Okay, thank you. The language of the first Mishnah of Pirkei Avot. So listen, Moshe kibel Torah miSinai. Umisara, right? Moshe received the Torah and subsequently transmitted it. Misara, moser, limsor. Misora is tradition, transmission. LiYoshua, and he transmitted it to Yoshua. But look now what it says. Yoshua lizakinim, no verb, just Yoshua lizakinim, uzakinim liniviim. There's no verb being repeated here yet. Univiim misaruha, and the Nevi'im transmitted it. The Anshe Knesset Gedolah, they transmitted to the men of the Great Assembly, which is the Sanhedrin that returned from Babylon with Ezra and Nehemiah at the beginning of the Beit Sheni, after this, the Purim story. So look at how, again, that the verb is there. There's only one verb at the beginning, kibel, Moshe kibel Torah. Then the second verb, misara, he transmitted it to Yoshua. Then, without any verbs, Yoshua to the Zakinim to the Nevi'im. That tells us something. That there's no verb. What does it tell? What is it? Even just guess. What does it tell you? Very direct. There was no broken phone. In order to the use of the verb here, umsaru, and the Nevi'im, the prophets, Misaruha, they gave it over. They transmitted it to the Anshe Knesset Gadol. Means that there was almost like a break there. Right? It could have been because we were in Babylon or whatever, but whatever reason, there's the verb being used there indicates that it wasn't as smooth as the previous ones.
So Moshe to Yeshua also is
Very. So that's what he's going to explain now. Is that even from Moshe to Yeshua, it's like what Moshe received directly from God, he had to tone it down tremendously to give it to Yeshua. Let's see what he says, how he says it. Back to the actual thing, the way I did it here, which I used the word transmitted too many times, but whatever, to make it understandable in English. Moshe received Torah on Sinai and subsequently transmitted it to Joshua. Joshua transmitted it, which you leave out now, to the elders, and the elders leave it out to the prophets. And the prophets transmitted it to the men of the Great Assembly. Moses was the master of all prophets. He's now saying, like, what is this Kibel stuff? What is this that he was Mekabel, he was receiving? He's the master of all prophets, meaning to say he was so open. He understood the Torah completely. In this sense, his prophetic vision was on the level of an open vessel that could always receive more. So the receiving here is his emphasis. He was so receiving that he didn't even get in the way of the receiving. That's what we're being told. Perhaps the secret of Moses' receiving was the more he transmitted, the more he was able to receive, like a cup that pours into another in order to be able to receive. If you're full of yourself, then you can't receive anything. So Moshe, though, was a giver. He was constantly giving over, and therefore he could receive now much, much more. And it works for us also. If you're gonna try and give over Aleph, right, you're gonna start to receive more than you could have done if you hadn't started to give it over. So in terms of Moshe, he's receiving more from Hashem, but in terms of us, we receive as an or, what's called an or choser, a reflected light from the person who we're giving to, because just the establishment of a communication with another human being, it changes our whole consciousness. That there's ears, eyes, and brain there, and the heart, and that you're hearing what I'm saying, and I'm hearing what I'm saying, and together we're creating a dialogue of, right? And this is basically what God does to Moshe. And that God does in creating the universe. He creates a dialogue with the universe. So when we are dialoguing with each other, we're doing a cosmic act. And so that when we become more and more aware of that, we just open up to what the incredible infinite possibilities are in the little things that we thought were just so mundane. All of a sudden, the world opens up to us and divinity reveals itself to us in the midst of our mundane existence. We become divine beings. We become aware of godliness. And it's not something that happened back then. And the room becomes filled with God, and the city of Jerusalem becomes a holy city. It's covered over with a lot of soot. Okay, but sometimes you can feel it, and it's like so good to be able to connect to that, and that's why we're here. I can, as much as possible, with your permission, I will stop every once in a while and let whatever is happening happen, so that I don't take over the airwaves completely, so that you can come back with the Or Choser. Because we're not going to gain if it's just like information.
So is it suggested that there's a level, should be natural, of dilution at each transmission?
The dilution, a level of dilution at each level of transmission. Yes, there is a certain loss, but there's an ability to reconstruct it.
But as you pass it over, you also regain.
I gain by giving it. But what about the guy now? What about a person who's there and the person he received it from is gone? He passed on. So now he's in the transmitter position.
Right. But as he's a transmitter, he would theoretically, I mean, he should grow to transmitting. He grows. Whether he
may not be like
what his
but he has to be like himself.
But he's got to be like himself, which is better than he was before.
Right.
You can still receive from the rabbi.
You can also still receive from the rabbi. This is an amazing Torah that I've been doing recently with Rabbi Nachman on the last scene in Eliyahu Hanavi's life, Elijah. When Eliyahu says, I got to go off alone to Elisha. And Elisha says, I ain't letting you get out of my sight. I'm going with you. And Eliyahu tries to go, and then he's a very slippery character. He's always disappearing and reappearing, Eliyahu. So, but Elisha knows this, and he's not letting out of his sight. And then, so at the very last second, Eliyahu says, ask me for what you want, but quick, because I'm going. And Elisha says, give me this, double your spirit. And it's a very powerful idea. I want double what you have. That's like chutzpah. That's chutzpah. And so Rabbi Nachman says a whole thing about, where do I have it? In my bag here. I have too many things in my bag. If I would go off and everything that I say, it's like, forget it. We're not going to get. But if anybody interested in such a thing, I have what to send you. Okay, so that's also part of the class. Emails, phone calls, and emails, personal connection to what is happening, asking questions, interacting. Okay. I want you to get the most out of the class, and I want to get the most out of the class also. I want this class to be a monumental class because, as I said at the beginning, before some of you came, I did this book from 1987 to 1990. And I tried teaching it once in the old city to a few guys, but they were kind of not interested. And I stopped. I said, this is not. And it's been basically, that's it. I never gave it over. I never had. So I have a lot to share, and you get me in the package, for better or for worse. And but I want you to get the most out of it.
2 points.
Baruch atah Adonai.
First, the Rav say that when you have a spiritual moment where you reach a state of consciousness of Hashem, do you feel it more in Yerushalayim than in New York City? And second, let's say someone doesn't know he's in Yerushalayim. Will he still feel it? Or do you have to know something about Yerushalayim in order to feel the special Yerushalayim? But once you're feeling Hashem, so you feel Hashem wherever you are, it doesn't matter. How does Malkin play a role here?
Excellent question. I wrote a book called Lech Lecha, Go to Yourself, a meditative guide to the grave sites of the tzaddikim in Eretz Yisrael. What to do when you get to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's gravesite, what to do when you get to Avaya and Rava and Benayahu ben Yoyada and all these amazing places that are up there in the north, right? They're energy spots, they're power spots. What to do? Oops, sorry.
know, it's really cool.
Email.
Can I do
Huh?
I'm just wondering.
Wait, I'm in the middle of and I'm sorry. I gotta at least answer partially. I'll make it as short as I can. So I said, when you get, and especially if it's Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, it's like, forget it, like it's a million people there. But at Meir Balanes, there's a lot of people there, and they're lighting candles, and it's very hot and it's sweaty, and there's people are pushing, and yet it could be like Yom Kippur, and you'd be like the highest moment in your life because you get it. You get what this is about. And then I say the same thing in another book that I wrote about the high holidays, that it's Yom Kippur. But Yom Kippur is a place and time. Because we need places and time to know that there's a day of the year when it's Yom Kippur. But the truth is it's Yom Kippur every moment. It's Shabbos every moment. We need the Shavuos to know that there's a day when the Torah is given, but the Torah is not being given every moment. So when you free yourself and you understand the same thing with place, with Eretz Yisrael. Once you connect to Eretz Yisrael, then everywhere you can experience the incredible power of Eretz Yisrael, because the inner level of all existence is always there. It's just covered over. So I one last thing, that the answer can go on, but is that with angels, that we invite in some angels on Friday night. And so there's weekday angels and there's Shabbos angels, according to this one theory. Well, what's the difference? And I also say, well, what's the difference between Eretz Yisrael angels, which is what Yaakov Avinu had go up when he left Eretz Yisrael, and Chutz La'aretz angels came down to accompany him to Haran. And then when he came back, he saw Mahanaim, he saw a double camp, and he said there was a changing of the guards again. He's coming back into Eretz Yisrael, and the Eretz Yisrael angels were welcoming him. What's the difference is, I said the angels are like God's hands. And they were, and angels are like the gloves on God's hands. There's lace gloves, and there's asbestos gloves. Everything is God. But how much it's revealed, how much our consciousness is able to pierce and penetrate through the outer layers and to know that what just happened, that's God, or that's an angelic energy. But the point is, once you get to a certain level, then, and theoretically, it doesn't matter where you are, but then over and above that, there's no question that being in Eretz Yisrael is a powerhouse for Am Yisrael. But the energy here is blocked. It's almost like a geyser. And when it blows, it's going to blow sky high. And it's going to have an effect on the entire world. In the meantime, though, it's here. And that's why some of us are here and we want to connect to that. And we find it difficult because it's like blocked, but we know that it's here. And then sometimes it'll open up for a moment. And sometimes that moment is worth our whole life. And that allows us to go on. Enough with my free-floating mind, but that's an attempt to answer the question. Yes.
I'm just wondering if there's like just one way of doing things. Like you spoke about this book where, you know, what do you do when you get to the holy people, to the graves, and like specific things about that you can do.
Yeah.
So there's like rituals or to connect to a certain energy or to. And I think that for like the longest time in my life, I was definitely I had like moments of like tasting something really good and trying to seek for it over and over again. And you know, I read like a lot of books and spoke to people, and it's those moments when you just give up on like finding the right way to do it, that you actually get like a peek into something that is new. You know, and I don't know, I feel like I'm very confused about the way, you know, that I should go, or how exactly I can like get back into, like learning is definitely important. I wonder if it has to be in a certain way, or obviously in Judaism there are rules and they're like, I believe that the rituals are important because they're designed for us all. But there's also the other side, and like lots of questions on the other side. So just wondering.
Thanks for asking. I can answer. I mean, I can say yes. I think that there are certain things to do, but this is for all of us. We all are asking the same question. So we're going to try and to the best of our ability to share things here that will be helpful. Okay.
Why do you think the energy is blocked in Jerusalem? Or were you saying all of Israel or just Jerusalem? Said before you get the whole talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm curious, so why do you think it's blocked now? And what's going to unleash it or open the channel?
Wow.
You don't feel it's blocked at all?
I'm asking Rav Sutton.
Do
I think it's blocked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
do, but I'm.
it's a feeling. It's a sense.
It's a new, yeah.
We want
I'm
more.
curious as to what because you brought it up. So I'm curious as to why you think that is.
Yeah. What did you say?
The Beit HaMikdash isn't on here. We're not really living to the first of what was 16.
Right. We're back. We're back, but we're not back yet. And one of my other things that I wrote a long time ago, called the Tapestry of what do they call it? Tapestry of history, whatever. So I say there that there's two stages in the creation of Adam. One is the molding of his body, and the second stage is the blowing of the divine breath into his nostrils. And so later on, Ezekiel prophesies about the dry bones. The dry bones come together. That's first stage. And the second stage is prophecy to the four directions, the four winds, which are called ruchot, and have the spirit, the neshamot, the souls come back into the body, stage 2. The body coming together is stage 1, like with Adam. And stage 2 is the soul being blown into the body. We're in stage 1 now of coming back to Eretz Yisrael as a body. It's almost like a chicken without a head, though. We have the higher consciousness is still hidden from, there's drops coming down, but this is nothing compared to who Am Yisrael is. And the Torah that's coming down now is only drops of the real awesome Torah that the Mashiach will teach us. But it's coming. There is a Mashiach Torah that's awakening our people, but it's still blocked. So that's, again, how to answer a question like that. It's just a side route to answer instead of dealing with it directly. I don't know how to answer right now, but excellent questions like that are the reason for this class, and I can't even answer them. We just feel it's a block, and we're asking Hashem to once we're aware of that, and we see that there's something here that's so much more than what we are getting. Please, Hashem, open up the blocks in myself, in all of us, in Jerusalem, in something that's here that's waiting to be revealed. Jerusalem is very often considered like a mother, or be often like a wife. She's not completely free to express herself. So we want to do whatever we can to allow Jerusalem's spirit to express itself. She's been raped time and time again by different peoples. And now, so there's a whole story, and everything has this whole story. I can't do justice to it. So yes, good. I'm glad this is the way the class is going. Good.
I can imagine that once upon a time in Jerusalem, people lived here and didn't build blocks between relationships with one another, the relationship with Hashem, the relationship with your neighbor. Like, is that like you're saying that once that's how it was? I can't imagine.
Maybe it's always been, but never like it is like now. Like we're at the end of a long historical process. Down. We're in what's called the feet of history. It started up in the head. And the play on words is we are the soles of the feet. We've been here before, but now we're in the final time. And only the rules of our reincarnation are only the lowest part of the soul reincarnates. That which has not been rectified. The rest of it stays upstairs. Whatever good we've done, whatever we've accomplished in previous lifetimes, stays upstairs in a bank. The way to access that, though, is to do what we can with what we've been given, to do what we can the best we can with what we've been given, and we can start drawing down those higher energies that we have from previous lifetimes, because we're in the feet, but we have connection all the way up to the head.
So the people thousands of years ago were the better part of the soul that are no longer, that aren't here now?
Without idealizing them overly much, but yes, we consider that they had a different level of consciousness that we don't even remember. That's part of the downward flow of the generations, is that, for instance, like a major thing is that is those who came back from Babylon and they saw the second temple, and everybody was cheering and clapping and dancing and singing, and the elders who had seen the first temple 70 years prior were crying. And the young people said, "Well, why are you crying?" And they said, "This is nothing like what we had." It's a trauma. It's a birth trauma. Every new generation is a birth, and it's a loss of mommy. And so if you saw what again, this is all theoretical. It's a theoretical structure that they had a closeness. This is not just a Jewish idea, but they had a certain inner closeness, and we have we have something special also. But every generation has its specialness. But in the totality of all the generations, one great Adam broke into billions of souls. So we are at the low part now, and our job is to be the generation that all our previous generations lived for, the children that all Jewish parents ever lived for, like that they prepared the way. There's a concept that on the inside, everything has been fixed. 99.99% of reality has been mitukan, rectified. And so it has to do with Kabbalistic concept that we'll see of the shattering of the vessels and the breakage of the breakage and this and a fall, and everything has been fixed on the inside level. And what we see on the outside, a broken world, seems to us like 99.999% of reality is not fixed. Like, what are you talking about? So their message to us is that what you see is 0.0001%. What is in store for you and what you can access through this inner work, this inner connection to God that we're telling you have a connection to, is the 99.999. And when that comes together, there'll be a quantum leap in consciousness on the planet. We're here to do what we can, but we can't bring the Geula. But we are here to be constant receptacles of this higher energy of our own souls and connecting to the higher mission that was given to us. And we expect incredible things. We expect resurrection of the dead. And before the resurrection of the dead, which includes Adam and Eve and Abraham and Sarah and Moses and all of them like walking around in light bodies, before that, they come back inside of us. They come back and they reawaken us to who we really are. So you're getting a lot of Rav Sutton here, so to speak. You're getting that how do I answer a question like that? Were they on a higher level? So I modified it. I said, without idealizing them, in certain ways, yes. Everybody's special in their time, but somehow we look back at them and we see that there was something that they had. And that we can have something like that that's specifically tailored to us. And in a sense, like I said, we're the children that every Jewish parent lived for. We're the culmination of Jewish history. And at the same time, we're at the lowest level, like I said. How does that work? Again, only the lowest part comes down in every generation. And then we can draw down consciously through our deeds. We can draw down the higher part. But that is just about to start to move into the next stage, from stage 1, which is the gathering of the body of Israel, to the soul of Israel.
What about the Noah generation?
Unbelievable story back there. We can go into what that was. They were supposed to get the Torah, which was the water of Torah. Instead, they got the water of the flood. Rav Sutton says that they were primed. Everything was present in order to be able to be the generation that received the Torah. Noah was Moshe. Everything was ready, but they misused their powers, and therefore they got destruction. And so, what's your question?
It sounded like from, I don't know, the beginning, like it was a high, like the souls were at the best, and slowly the good stayed up, and we
lower and lower.
Yeah, you're talking about us being in the bottom. I was wondering,
like
the generation.
This is amazing stuff that I wrote about this also. Why do I write about these things? Because these are things that came up for me. The Ari answers for us an incredible thing of how to understand history and reincarnation. And so I wrote a book called Well of Living Waters, in which I bring the Ari directly of what went on with the souls that were born during the flood, and how Hashem just wiped them out and brought them back all together in their next generation, in their next their next reincarnation, which was in Sodom. It seems like they were getting worse, and so he wiped them out there, and he brought them again back into. I'm missing one. No, the Tower of Babel.
Babel was second.
Tower of Babel is second, and then Sodom is third. and then they come back as the Egyptians in the time of Joseph, and there's their fourth reincarnation. And then they come back their fifth time as the children of Israel in the time of Moses. And there's a mixture here of going on with the souls that came down from Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, but the 70 souls that came out of Egypt, and then these souls that came from these reincarnation souls, and that becomes the incredible gene pool of Am Yisrael, where we have the highest part, we also have a lower part. And so just even today, each one of us is a whole microcosm. We have a higher part of ourselves, and I don't mean just our thinking brain, I mean a higher part. And we have ourself, the conscious aspect of me, who I know to be myself, the conscious choosing person. And we have a lower aspect, the stuff that we came to fix. So all of mankind is a one big body, and each one of us is a mankind. I might drive you crazy answering questions like this because I'm really going like far out, but this is the way I, at least today, I feel I can do this. I'm open to more questions even now if you want.
I'm sorry,
Let's-
just to backtrack what you were
Good,
just saying.
good.
So you're saying this comes from the Ari, what you were saying, that the souls of the Jewish people can be traced back to the flood and then Tower of Babel and then Sodom and then the Jewish people? Is that what
Totally. Right, but again, it was a mixture of two, of the high road and the low road. We as I said, the 70 souls that came down into Egypt with Jacob were then they were giving birth to multiple births, and the souls that were being born through these Israelite mothers were the souls of what's called the souls of the 130 years, because they come from Adam during the 130 years that he separated from his wife and had wasted seed. And from that seed, these souls came, and Hashem said, these souls are precious, even though they didn't come in the way they're supposed to, which is a man and a wife. So I will bring them back all together in the generation of the flood, again in the generation of the Babylon, the Tower of Babel, again in the generation of Sodom. There's a lot of questions here, but what the Ari does at least is give us an incredible structure to look at in terms of who we are, because we are a culmination of all this inner history. See, the Torah tells an outer history, and the Kabbalah tells the inner history. And so together, it gives us an incredible sense of what our mission is, each one of us. It comes into very personal revelations of what you need to do in this lifetime, what I need to do. On the other hand, I can still tell you I know nothing about who I am. I know nothing about what I'm really supposed to do. I just do what I do and do the best I can with total unconsciousness of who I'm really connected to. But I know I'm connected, and I know you're connected, and I know you're connected. You are aligned up to the highest levels. It's just that you have been allowed to see the angels, to see the souls who are there with you. So, but we know that it is, and that knowledge is so important to us that we hold it precious to us. That knowledge gives us the ability to go on. So even though you're not allowing me to see Hashem, even though you're not allowing me to see, I want to see so much and I want to know. No, our time is, you're not allowed to know, but I want you to know. I want you to know through the Torah that you learn and through the teachings that are come to you, that these are teachings that our souls need to hear. That's what came to me once about inner space. These are teachings that our souls came into this lifetime to hear. This is not just intellectual knowledge. That's why I can't give this over in the university, because it's so mystical. It's so personal. It's so cosmic. It's all of those. And so nobody, but what I'm telling each one of you is that you want to come into a deeper relationship with God. This system of wisdom, for me, as I understand it, this system of wisdom is the way to refine and clean and clear ourselves so we become more and more able to receive what Hashem wants to give us. And he's willing to work at anybody and everything, anybody who comes to him. The system of tshuva is a real beautiful system. We just went through it in the holidays. We don't even appreciate how much we've gotten. Again, I'm so unconscious. And so a lot of times what I think is that women are more connected to the real intuitive knowledge, and men like myself, we get it from the books. I've tried to kind of join the two. I've tried through the books and through my teachers, I've tried to make it real. And it is real to me. But I am a book learner. The books opened up to me, right? Those books, whatever there's a few main ones. But I'm here in order to help that process go further than myself. So.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, is it always the same amount of souls that come back here? Is there like a certain amount of soul that comes in every generation, and we're just like experiencing like a different incarnation?
Beautiful question. So the Ari is the address. The Ari is Rabbi Yitzhak Luria. He's the address, and he's the address for answers to the questions of that nature. And basically, he says there are a certain amount of root souls. There's big souls. It was one big soul, basically. It's like a pyramid. The higher up you go, it's just one, and then it bifurcates, and there's billions of us. So from down here, where each one of us is an individual soul of many billions, we can connect up to the one in our particular way. But what I want to say is like this. He gives numbers. The Torah itself gives numbers. It's called 600,000. And it's a symbolic number. Shishim Ribo, 600,000 or 60 10,000s. And then there's a breaking down bifurcation system into billions. And the way I like to say it is that God likes children. So he says, the more the merrier. Even though there are these all special souls, but these special souls give birth to hundreds and thousands of sparks of their own soul. And one of the ways to say it is in the resurrection, people are going to rise up from the graves. Right? So somebody's going to say, will the real Yaakov stand up? And 100 people are going to say, I'm Yaakov. Wait a second, how can you all be Yaakov? We're all sparks of Yaakov. And Yaakov is Yaakov, and we're not Yaakov, but we're sparks of Yaakov. And the point was that each one of us, all the potential that was in Yaakov could be manifested in every single one of us differently. And so therefore, each one of us will have eternal existence, and the divine plan was to come to maximum multiplicity and then bring maximum multiplicity back into unity in such a way that each one of us maintains individuality. We come from oneness. We come into multiplicity. He pulls his light back so that we can exist. And there's many of us, and there's billions of us. Then he reveals his light. And he reveals it in such a way that each one of us connects to our soul groups, and we connect to each other. And we start seeing incredible connections into our higher souls. And we all see that we're all one soul, and yet we're all separate and one at the same time. That's something that only Hashem could do, is the absolute perfection of oneness and the absolute perfection of individuality. That's the gift that the Ein Sof wanted to give us, as I see it. So he uses numbers, the Ari, and I can send you the text translated that I did just to do the numbers and to show how he does it. But basically he says it just breaks down into billions of souls, and it all roots up into one great soul. And it could be even, as the Ari intimates, that the one great soul that we're all part of is Adam. But Adam himself was only one of many souls. And as the 6th millennium that we're in right now comes to an end, Hashem is going to send in souls from that not even were part of Adam, that are going to be able to help the rest of us. So there's a lot of beautiful things that will come out of these teachings. That'll just be very, for me, very exciting ideas. And I'll try my best to, to transmit them in a way that's not crazy. The way I can't look at myself. I see that we're just meeting each other. You're seeing this guy talking in a crazy way here. It's not crazy because it's built on something, but it's on the other hand, it's a little bit too free, right? Where am I coming from? Well, I have to tell you that everything I'm saying, I'm drawing from something that I know. I'm not allowed to say anything that I haven't received. I mean, I'm building on what I've received, but I'm not allowed to make up anything. So I really I'm responsible for the knowledge that I've been given. So as much as I want to share it in a way that's real and interesting and etc., but I have to draw on the catalog cards that are in me for where I got this from, this particular information, and give it to you in a way that it's not going to in any way distort the original source. At least I'm trying.
Mm-hmm.
So, I should sing a song too. Yes.
Just
Yeah.
It's just when you say our generation, you asked your question, the amount of souls in our generation. What's our generation?
What's our generation?
Is it like an era?
Yeah, it is who we are. This totality of almost 7 billion people on the planet Earth right now. It's called our generation, right?
I mean, I know the word generation of like my mother's generation.
Right. I got it.
So
But
what does it mean?
yeah, but I mean, all of us together also can be called our generation. Whoever's alive right now.
Oh, but
Even though the great grandparents and the grandparents and the parents and the children and the grandchildren and the great grandchildren, all of them are each a generation.
Yeah. No, I thought that maybe generation might mean something like bigger, like an era or something. Like ever since something happened or something. But it's not.
No, it's a time we're living in right now, and it's a fluid thing. People are passing away, people are being born,
Yeah,
but we're a generation in a certain sense. We're the generation of what's called the Ikvad of the Mashiach, the footsteps of the Mashiach. We're prior, and therefore things are moving in a certain way faster.
Why
Think-
now?
Why now?
100 years ago, they weren't the footsteps of Nietzsche.
Oh, again, excellent question. Excellent question. The Messianic process did not start 50, 200, 2,000, or 4,000 years ago. It started before creation. We have a midrash that says, "Ve'ruach Elohim marachevet al penei hamayim," and the spirit of Hashem was hovering over the waters. Ze rucho shel Mashiach. This is the spirit of Mashiach. One midrash says. In other words, the history is a messianic process towards a messianic rendezvous. History is God's story, His story. Mystery is when I say it's my story. Mystery. Why is it spelled with a Y otherwise? Right? Mystery. God's story unfolding, and we're part of that story. And so Mashiach is a concept. Is that Mashiach means that there'll be a time when we'll awaken from the dream of history as we know it, and come to a higher level of awareness. There'll be no longer the Roman exile or the Babylonian exile or the Egyptians or this or that or any country in the world. All this is part of a dream state. As the prophets told us, they went up above history. And they said awakening is not becoming, awakening is awakening to your soul, to who you really are. Your souls. You're not Egyptians and you're not Cambodians and you're not, right? Your souls. And we come down into this world and we are in an amnesic state. So, where am I going with all this? It's too much. It's too much for one sitting, but just the sense that we're all part of something great and that that's beginning to manifest right now. The book that I most recently published is called Spiritual Technology. I didn't even bring one with me. But that's about the time we're living in and the potential for awakening that our time presents. There's a song that Shlomo sang. Li ki li shuata kivinu kol hayom, for your redemption, Hashem, we have hoped all the day. Ki li shuata kivinu kol hayom, ki li shuata kivinu kol hayom, umetzapim lishuan. We're hoping for redemption. Umetzapim lishua ki lishuacha kivinu kol hayom, ki lishuacha kivinu kol hayom, u'mitzapim lishua. Open up. U'mitzapim lishua. Na 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 na. What's your name again? Yosef Shalom said before, asked before. So each one of us has a Moshe, an aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu, something like that,
Lashon is a nitzitz of Moshe.
Right, a nitzitz, it's a spark of Moshe, which is the spark of Mashiach, which is the spark of the higher soul, the highest souls. And we have that in us, and that's our beauty. That's what we see, and we want to see it in everybody. I think Israel is special because Israel sees how others are special and how other is special. If I go around thinking I'm special, then I lose the whole point. It's that I have the ability to see special, right? Am Yisrael is Yashar El, straight to God in the other. Straight to God in the other. Straight to God in the situation. Yashar El. Yashir El, to sing to God. To open up. To feel Hashem's presence. And we need his blessing so much. I hope I see you again next week. You want my email, it's yours, or my phone number. And let's establish a relationship so that we can grow together in this. The email is avraham.sutton@me.com. AVRAHAM dot Sutton SUTTON at me or Mac.com.
Like MAC.
MAC.com. Phone number is 0525 640 249.
No.
9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've asked Pomerantz to order more inner space. I have one for sale. How much did I sell it to you for? You remember?
100 shekels.
So I have one. This one here belongs to the yeshiva, and this one here, whatever, belongs to me. So I do have one though. Anybody wants? And as I said, to make it easy, if it's not available and it can't be bought, for whatever reason, which is the whole trip with the publisher Moznaim, then I'm going to make an electronic PDF version of it so that everybody can have. Maybe I'll even make it in 2 books, two files, one with the footnotes in the back and one with the book, and that'll be available to anybody who wants.
What's the email on the time?
Avraham.Sutton, my last name, SUTTON, at mac.com. Okay. Anybody want this book? Okay, thank you so much. Really, it was really feel that we were all here together in a really good space. So, okay.
Do you live in the floor?
No, I live in